Hi guys, welcome to Yes or No podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm with my good friend like usual.
Arda.
Oh my god, Arda, what's up, dude? There's so
Arda.
many people here.
I know, it's crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
I'm not good. Are we doing that or are we doing the American version of things, which is like, yeah, I'm fine. How are you doing? Great. What about you? Oh, great. Oh, how was your day?
No,
No, okay.
we're not doing
No,
that.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. The weather is still fine. It's raining sometimes, but it's the best season of the year coming up. I love it. You know.
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, I like
It's
it.
okay.
I like it. I like it. This is the yeah. The season after that, not really, but that one, very good. I'm not saying which season we are because maybe you're gonna watch or listen to that podcast episode on another season,
In
so
winter or
who
some
knows?
shit.
Anyway, so
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah. So
Let's
what
not
about
let's not romanticize the seasons.
exactly? So tell me,
Yeah, it's gonna be an amazing episode. We definitely know what we're gonna talk about on this
yeah,
episode.
exactly, yeah. I just came back
But
from the dentist, and then we're like, yeah, let's fucking record something.
dude, dentists like doctors here are so shitty. American doctors and American lawyers are like so shitty, dude. I'm so sick
What?
of it.
Why so?
I don't think they know what they're doing. Like if you go to a doctor, it's just ask so many tests, but they don't look at you and kind of they can't tell you what it is. Like I don't know. When I was a kid, I go to a doctor, they check up, they ask me how you're feeling, and then they're like, okay, this is what you have. Like you
Yeah.
don't always get tests, but now it's all about like you need to get shitloads of tests. And I even then I feel like they don't know. Lawyers are kind of same shit too. It's like you try to get information from them like what's going on in my case, and then they're like, yeah, as long as you pay us a lot of money, we will try to help you out. And then you keep paying them money, and then they don't resolve it at the end of the day too.
No.
It's just fucking.
I mean, it's yeah. It's like in the automotive industry. It's like you're working at the factory, so you're just following process. It feels like anymore. Like they don't give a shit about what you're doing. They're like,
Yeah, for
okay,
them,
so
stakes are not high. They are like, customers are coming anyways.
yeah, so let's
Someone's
do the
gonna get
process.
sick.
Oh, are you sick? Yes. What are you doing? Coughing? Okay, there you go. Lawyers, what do you want? This? Oh, okay,
Eh,
sure. This is how much it is. Goodbye. And then they
you
write
can
two
actually go and
letters.
ask ChatGPT that question.
Yeah,
I don't
but ChatGPT is wrong sometimes. You know
Yeah,
that.
generally. Not generally, sometimes.
Yes, let's say all the time.
Depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
You know what? I have an idea.
Yeah.
Let's do Q&A for this episode.
Hey guys, we're still live. Welcome to the Yes or No podcast. We have some technical difficulties today, and we are fine. You can follow us on Spotify, on YouTube at Yes and No podcast, all attached. We're trying to record an episode right now. Not really good one, obviously, but it's a Q&A because we didn't prepare it. Actually, we were supposed to have a guest, but then he was postponed. And then that's why we still decided to record anyway, because fun, friend, content. The three pillars of internet. I'm still waiting for my friend to come over. I don't know why he's not coming over. He actually left because his quality was really, really bad. And I don't know. All right. So, people who are listening to the episode, I just want to mention something. We're also streaming those episodes on Twitch. So, if you subscribe or follow us on Twitch, you can see how messy it is to create those episodes. And so, too, if you come and join us on Twitch at Yes or No Podcast, obviously, you will be able to interact with us live too. So do not hesitate next time. All right, let's start, dude.
So, I have a question.
I don't have questions though, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
I'm going to talk 20 minutes about for answering. You know that.
okay. So my first question is, we're ready? Are you ready for this question? How much do you bench?
A bench, I think, is around like 300 kilograms in itself. So if you find
bench?
those one in the park,
What do you mean?
A bench. You know what is a bench?
No.
All right. Them question.
What? It's a question.
I don't know.
There's
it's
no dumb
like
question.
it's around what?
You need to tell me in pounds.
Oh, come on, man. 60 kilograms. Do the
60
math.
kilograms? Okay.
I guess, yeah.
Are you including the bar or?
Yeah, including the bar, yeah. I have shoulder pains since my accident,
I know.
So I'm
Second
still
question.
building that.
What happened? No, your turn. Sorry.
I'm a bench press.
Huh?
Okay, no, come on.
Okay. Your turn.
My turn.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Why you don't shave anymore?
Okay, that's a good question.
If you
Okay.
listen to that podcast episode, you need to understand that Arda is wearing a full beard, like right now. And he's been doing that for the past season, even before. But usually he was shaving for many years because he has shit tons of hair, all right? So he was shaving to be clean and nice. Now he just looked like a hobo, living in downtown Los Angeles. Just so you get an idea.
I don't shave because there are 3 reasons.
All right.
One of them is that I have a double chin.
Double chin.
Double chin. Second one is I don't have a jawline, so I think it's
Jawline?
kind of gives like a full, like a bigger, kind of like a cut.
Yeah.
And the third one is it's less effort to maintain it. Like I don't need to cut it every few days.
Well, I think that's bullshit, first of all. Because I had one time I had a beard. You remember that?
Uh-huh.
Like a real beard too. I think it's so difficult to maintain because you need to shave some sides and then you need to cut, some bits of hair, coming from your nose and shit like that. So it's constantly you need to take care of it. Where I'm just shaving quickly and then I'm done. I'm just trimming and then I'm done. I don't have anything to fucking do ever.
So I just shave my neck. Like that's the only part I'm shaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my beard, I use oil and then
You see?
that's it.
And then
then
the comb
I
too?
cut it once in a while with the scissor, but like maybe once a month.
And what about the comb? Are you using a comb too?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like you're taking care of your hair
Yeah.
and you're taking care of your hairs on your
Yeah.
face too. So it's like double times, the work. To be
But I
done.
don't need to
know.
shave
Yeah.
that often.
I don't know.
Yes. Good question. Good question.
Your turn.
I'm thinking a similar question with your mustache, but I'm not gonna.
No,
ask
come
that.
on.
Why do you have a mustache? No.
Because I felt like it.
No. That's bullshit. No, give me more. Give me more. That's like so surface. But anyways, that's not the question. I'm not gonna spend my question on your fucking mustache. My question is,
Why do I have a strong
Slurp.
jawline?
no, actually, I have a question, but this is Okay. Do you think sex is a spectrum? Such a heavy question. Bam.
Gosh.
Down the stomach.
Spectrum. What do you mean, like in terms of sexual?
Sex. Not gender, but the sex. Like, because gender, yeah, I
Sexual
mean, we can go
relationship, I
there,
would say.
but, you know, like
Yeah.
there's like more construct or like it's a spectrum, but sex from the biologic point of view, do you see sex as a spectrum?
You mean the activity of sex?
No.
I
That's a
don't get it.
spectrum.
What do you mean, like in terms of what the genitals, or are you talking about like how people are having sex?
You know, there's like you can go DNA or reproductive parts of the body and say that female or male, and then you can see a binary, or you can
Mhm.
include it. Um, you can say there is no like that's the part that I'm kind of
Dude,
want to get your opinion. Is the
that's
binary to
the.
you, or is the spectrum the biological aspect of like reproduction and DNA? That part.
I mean, I don't think that's.
Gonna get banned?
What the
Are we gonna
fuck
get
is that
shadow banned?
question? I'm gonna get shadow banned, dude, for sure, 100%. First of all, there is a consensus about the fact that there's two type of genitalia. All right,
Yeah.
for majority of people, all right.
Yeah.
And regarding DNA, sure, there's XX, XY, but then there's sometimes some changes, and you can find XXY, XXX. So, do we base sex identity, not the gender identity, but sex identity, based on those factors?
Any kind of identity. I'm not even talking about an identity part of it.
No, I know, but like someone that has like a double X and a Y might have genitalia from a male and might have genitalia from a woman, or maybe both at the same time. Maybe grew some breast and a penis or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Intersex.
intersex,
Ge-
but without
that
like,
person.
but it's not intersex because it's like full on part of the DNA and how they grew up. So is it a spectrum in that sense? Sure, 100%. But that's not a question. I don't know. For me, I thought we were talking about us, but
Okay. Your turn.
also it's a question that is absolutely not personal, so I don't see where you were going with
were
it.
we asking personal questions?
I
Sorry.
thought that was the question. Like that was the Q&A. Q&A is about us.
Are you female or male? Where do
Well,
you lie on
actually,
the spectrum?
actually okay. Let's ask that question. I have really good answers because that was
Okay.
a topic that I had with Solon the other day.
So my question to you is,
Okay.
what is your sex? Now your gender. What's your sex? Where do you put yourself on that spectrum?
Do I put my sex into?
Into somewhere on the spectrum.
I am. I have a penis, so that's it. This is my sex.
Okay.
But
But
from
what was
there,
the conversation that
I don't know because, like, okay, what do you do with that? You can have some people. This is such a strange conversation. Anyway, but no, I mean, okay, sure, but I look like a male. All right, that's the thing. In terms of identity, too, like sure.
so you identify as a male?
Well, that's the thing. Do I identify as a man? All right.
Okay.
My answer is I don't identify to anything. And I know people are gonna be like, well, how? What are your pronouns and things? Yeah, sure, it's he, him. All right. And then I can have a conversation about gender fluidity. But then the problem that I have, and I think that is the biggest problem about those topic about gender identity, is I don't feel particularly a man. I'm not feeling like a woman either. My body and the way that I am physically, in terms of my height, my weight, my shape, if I would say, and my look, I definitely look like a man, cisgenre, 100%. Right.
Mhm.
But I have also some dysmorphia about my appearance. And I'm not seeing myself in a mirror the way I think people are seeing me in general, physically. And one of the, not regret, but what I was hoping to be, if I had to put myself there, I would have loved to be a skinny boy that would be androgynous. Does that make sense? That looks like a man or a woman at the same time.
Oh, like okay, like accordion pop band, boy
What?
band, kind of those guys.
Maybe, yeah. You don't really know if it's a male or a female in terms of the gender identity that it reflected. But I would have loved to see myself like that. The reality, because I like, first of all, I love fashion, I love clothes, and wearing a skirt, I don't care. In my own style, I'm not saying that I'm going to wear my mother or grandmother, dresses, but I would say, because I'm not going to identify through that, but I will more identify with the fashion statement or something like that. But the reality, that is the problem, because my face, my body shape, and all that, I'm not fitting in any part of that. So I unfortunately need to be closed and locked up in that identity only because I look like what the system created, which is a male. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I'm not gender fluid. I would be if I was different in a different type of shape or body.
You're special. We get it.
All right.
You're unique.
No, but I think it's an interesting topic too. And I don't
You kind of have a hard time to fit yourself in a box that's like socially available, kind of.
Yeah, I don't care about it, first of all. And I don't like that idea too, because that creates some misconception about your own personality. Because I think people mix identity and personality at the same time. So when you're looking at me, you can be like, okay, this guy has tattoo, is pretty big, he, he's muscular, his jawline is perfect, not with the beard or shit like that. But he's also driving a motorcycle, he's doing this, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it looks like a man, all right? That's what I heard sometimes. But the reality is, I don't feel like a man, because I know some people are thriving through their identity, which is super defined by the type of clothes, that type of genre of music and people they hang out, or political views, that they are segregated themselves out of the rest, which I don't feel like to, because you can take some other parts of me, which I like fashion, I like to create clothes, whatever clothes it is. I can have like really open spectrum of hobbies that would be considered female oriented normally. And then I don't fit in that physical aspect that I represent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I think I initially asked the question of about the sex and gender because I generally get the gender. Like, I have no questions in that argument of like, what's a gender, about the social constructs of how we are seeing a man or a women. You can be gay or trans, like those things. Like, I get it. It's a social construct for me, 100%. When we go to sex, I understand there are like intersex but it's like really small percentage though. And in my mind, I can separate female and male, but I can also see that there are like things that both sex has. Like, it's not specific to men, or if it's not specific to women. Like, there's so many matching things. Actually, there's this thing called bimodal representation. Have you heard that? So it's basically, let's say, like most men, the height, for example, like you kind of get men taller in some sense, and then women might be a little bit more. And then you put them together, so those two models, and then you kind of get this intersection that actually both men and women are in the range of like this height. So there are like a lot of people shares that quality, right? You have the edges, but you have like
No, I
a
get
bunch of people, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, yes, like I like that model. It's more inclusive. It's more like even though there might be some biologically differences in my mind, still like I cannot put that on the side. Like I still feel like there are biological differences.
So we're talking about biological difference, not just sex.
I think well that's
No, I know
because
what
in
I'm
Turkish,
saying. I know.
like in my original language we don't have a word like that. And I kind of get actually, and I appreciate in English that there's like also this word that represents the social aspect of how we are creating the looks and the personalities and the identity. Like I appreciate that word. I think it's good. When I hear people talking about sex, and I still I think have a little bit difficult time to not think about certain biological aspects of being a female or being a male.
I mean the biological, aspect of it. All right, so
Anyways, we can move on and you can ask me your question.
I know where you were going with it. Now I'm thinking about it, but I don't have anything to say about it because, like, biological difference for sure, 100%. Like they have their period, we don't.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
So I don't have period.
I can give birth. Can't give birth. Yeah, you know.
I mean,
maybe in the
depends.
future.
Maybe after eating a taco. Anyway.
Next question. Yeah, or Wayfair? Costco or Walmart? McDonald's or
check.
In-N-Out?
I mean, I think that was actually a good question, your question that I answered poorly regarding what your intention or your intent was about that question. And
you just realized what I meant by that question?
Yeah, of course. But
okay.
no, I mean, well, we're talking about it right now. But like, I think my answer was interesting too, and I think that was a good
100%.
point and a good topic. So now the problem is I'm trying to find a good question, to send you back to you, because asking you IKEA, I don't see the fucking point. Now, like, I'm like, okay, I need to find something
more deeper, more like fundamental.
Okay.
Are you gay?
All right. Okay, I have a question for you, right? And I think a lot of people that are listening are having the same
I think we
question.
shouldn't air this episode, to be honest.
All right, Arda.
We're going to get banned from Instagram. Okay,
Are you gay?
Me?
Why are you gay?
Is that your question? Not gay.
Why?
No, to be honest.
But that's the question, actually. Why do you think you're not gay then? Like, what define? All right, there's sexual attraction for sure, but why then in your brain and your environment and who you are?
I mean, it could be
make you attracted by someone.
It could be either. I sometimes feel like I have a part in my brain that fixated into a certain type of look, and it's that woman's like body and look. Like there's a part in your body only recognizes faces. I feel like there's a part in the brain that only recognizes a certain type of body, which is kind of like a female body, whatever it's constructed of the look. But most of it, I think, is social stuff too. Like a woman look is attractive to me, and how a man looks doesn't really attract me. But it was always like that. I never, like when I was going to school, looked at a guy and attracted towards them. But it might be an early conditioning that maybe I was like, no, you're a man. So women are.
Then just to go a little bit further, what about a transgenre then?
Transgender?
Yeah, transgender.
I mean, I find transgender women really attractive. But when the moment I know that they are not women, it feels like, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm not attracted in.
Because that's what you just said right before. You said like, actually, it's the representation of the woman too. So is it a question?
Yeah, I mean,
about
I think the best example
idea?
I can give is, I think, like, for example, asexual people fantasizes and romanticize the idea of being with someone, kissing them, or even like maybe having sex, But when that moment happens, when they're kissing or like when they're gonna have sex, they don't really. It doesn't feel that attractive as the idea moment. So I'm thinking like I have this idea of a trans woman as like very attractive, but I in my mind it's like a woman. But then when I in real life spending like close like having a conversation or hanging out or around them, it doesn't turn into oh I want to be with her. It doesn't translate to that. It just stays in my mind as a fantasy. That's weird. Like I don't know,
But what about like the full transition? I know like I'm asking so many questions. You can ask so many
but
questions
I
after
mean,
me. Because
full
it depends also
transition.
on the level. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think as long as my mind thinks that's a woman, that shouldn't broken with some information. And then it switches. You know, like there are examples like this guy married with this woman, and then years later he learns that she's actually not a like she was a man, and then she transitioned to being a woman.
Okay.
Have you heard news like that?
No.
There are news
No.
like that. Like those things happen. Rare,
Okay.
probably. Like if I would be in that situation, I think I would continue being with that person. Or like after spending 5 years, like I wouldn't say like, "Oh, you were a man? Okay, no, I'm not gonna be with you." I don't think I would do that.
But what does it change? Like in terms of, do you see the person, the male version of that person when you're looking at that person? Then you know what I'm saying?
I
Like
think my
if
mind
that
knows
person
that
is fully transitioned, then it's a woman. It's not a man anymore at all, and it's not in transition either.
yeah.
So what is your mind doing? Like, is it like pulling out a curtain and be like, okay, I'm trying to see a male through the eyes of that person, even physically?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know because I've never been with a trans woman. So I think in at that moment, it depends on how I'm feeling, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I've never been in that position. So, but I'm also know that there are definitely some social aspects to it that I don't feel comfortable. Like it's a different type of relationship that I'm going to put myself in. I meet with a trans woman, for example, going out, dating, having a relationship. Like that implies that I'm going to um, communicate that to people around me that this is my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
It's your
and it's
girlfriend.
normal. It's 100%
No,
normal.
but I'm
But
not. I'm saying like, first of all, it doesn't go further than okay, it's your girlfriend.
yeah, but still, internally, it doesn't feel like that. Like you may like, would you be okay with that for yourself, for example? Like, or would you not have any social? I don't want to say anxiety, but maybe like social way of communicating that to people and to yourself too, in some sense, because I think I would be very self-aware about like, okay, I've never had this before, so I need to go. It's an experience too. So I don't know.
You
I
know,
never really feel it. I don't know. I never really attracted enough from a transgender woman, I guess, to go towards that direction.
but what's
Maybe
interesting
one
is you
day.
still you still define that person as transgender. I mean, like in terms of social, interaction with others, you would feel the need to be like, oh, this is my girlfriend, but actually it was a guy that is now a girl, and then like why? That's my
Yeah.
question too. Like I don't see the point then. Like, do you
Well,
when
I
you
mean,
have a
that
girlfriend?
question is
When
gonna.
do you
It's
have? I
just
know,
this.
but this question is just personal. Then it's not like regarding others. That's what I'm saying. When you're meeting, when I don't know, you present one of your girlfriend, to your father. Are you
Yeah.
describing the sex the person is from? Like, oh, this is my girlfriend, but before actually she was a male, and then she felt not, like a male in her head, so she wanted to be a female. So then she became a woman, and then she decided to, to do to do some stuff in order to be more associated with her state of mind, who she is personally, and then now she's a woman, fully a woman. Would you
Mhm.
present your girlfriend like that to your to your parents?
No, but are you like the? So we're talking about an example, right? That let's say I have a girlfriend, who transitioned, and she's a woman, right? So I'm introducing that to my parents or friends.
Okay.
Do they realize that they're transitioned, like without me saying anything? Like, is it obvious?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because I think people can
You think
stand.
so?
I mean, there are times maybe they don't, but there are times that they might. Let's say that they don't. So they don't raise me the question of like, is your girlfriend transitioned or something? That I will probably not going to say it. Oh, this is my girlfriend who transitioned. Like, I'm not going to communicate
That's
it.
what I'm
So
saying. Like,
I'm
it's so
not
weird.
saying that I'm going to say that. But if like I'm not going to be always with my girlfriend, and then if I'm talking with a friend or someone and they're like, is your girlfriend transitioned to being a woman? Like, I'm not going to lie.
Okay, and then
And I would be like, yeah, she transitioned being a woman. Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, I need to communicate those to people around me. And I'm confident that there's going to be a lot of people either going to assume I'm gay or question, like, why I did that, or, like, why. There's going to be a lot of whys. And I need to explain myself.
I get
Or
it.
I'm going to be like, yeah, shut the fuck up. I don't need to explain you anything. Which, I mean, yeah. But I need to explain it to myself too, in some sense too, like to understand myself, because I'm never really attracted to trans women, like emotionally. But if I see a trans woman, I feel them. I really like them sometimes. They're like, fuck, she looks like beautiful, or like she's like very sexy or whatever, right? But dating, really like engaging in, that's a different thing. I've never done it before. So I don't know. Long answer.
It is a long answer. I like it.
Yeah.
Super cis male, white, gender oriented.
I mean, I'm a cis male, so
but
I don't know.
I know. But it's like this Q&A for people listening. I think it's a good thing too, because it feels sometimes we're those social justice warrior, you know, with like our minds super open 24/7, and we're like the most coolest white dudes, you know, that can save the world, but we're not, and we're basically sometimes who we are. And I think it's really interesting, those type of answers and questions, because at the end of the day, it also shows that we don't have always the same perspective, and sometimes they are pretty, you know, basic. I think, because like what you just say, I think it's really not close-minded, but I think there's a lot of people that would actually be in equation with what you just said. I think most people and most guys would be like, oh yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and that's not personal in my point of view. But I think it's interesting too, because like I would be definitely more open-minded to it. I don't think that for me it's a question at all. If I would be attracted by, and it's also a question about attraction, you know, sexual desire and things like that. We talked about it too.
Yeah.
There's so many things different about it, but I don't think that would be a problem for me at all. And I would not give a shit about what people think about it. But I understand your point, which is basic, I would say, but at the same time, it's kind of normal. And I think that's the normality, and a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see myself. Like, I sometimes wonder if I would grow up in a society that is more open with LGBTQ. Like, it's not even like maybe determined as LGBTQ, and that there are like people living their lives and expressing themselves in their sexual attractions and their gender identity and how they want to look, and that's more fluid, if I can say, or like more like normalized. If I would grow up in that environment, I don't know what I would lean into, because at that time you kind of want to experiment with things and you try different things, and then you might be like, okay, I like this or I don't like this, and blah blah blah. But I didn't have a childhood like that, so. Yeah, I'm 35 right now, and I have the cis male attraction that I built through those years.
But I that's what I'm saying. I have that too, but at the same time, I was raised, I would say, in the same environment that you did in terms of family, you know, culture, and the way they
so
try
I'm more
to
cis than
see
you?
the world.
Are you saying I'm more men than you?
Maybe.
I'm
But that's the
I'm
thing.
more.
Like for me, it's not
Just
a
kidding.
question about
Just kidding.
experience too. You know, it's a question about experience too, as you were saying. But for me, it's not a question about just experience. Like I can view myself. I think it's more philosophical in general, in terms of how you perceive things and how you perceive the world, people, and it is at the end of the day, it's personal too, and your desire into what you're feeling and what you're experiencing right now, not your experience that you had in the past, but what you're experiencing on a daily basis. And like if I'm having that conversation with my mom is pretty open. My mom is definitely a leftist, but she's
Mhm.
also a bourgeoise. But and she's demure, but not really. She's trashy too. But but I think she would go against what I just said, for example, and my vision of those things. And I'm not doing that in order to piss her off. Absolutely not. I was not like generally in reaction of how I was raised by my parents, but I think it's a question about the way we perceive reality and lives in general, and that is completely personal. And sometimes, as you were saying, sometimes it's coming from personal experience from the past or where you've been raised and what influence you have from society and culturally regarding people around you. And then even though you're still open and even though you're pretty open to a lot of things, you can still being built in that construct. And I still think it's interesting because I think it's the way we're talking about normality in general and the way people are normal. I think that's what it is. And it's the aggregation of those culture altogether that define some pretty straight rules. And the way you perceive and what you're saying to me right now, I think for me it's close-minded, but not really. I'm not judging you, and I don't think it is. And I think the majority of people will recognize themselves in what you were saying. But anyway, for me it's different. That's it. Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Did you think about that? Wait, I just
I
need
mean,
to.
at the end of the day, there's definitely some social things that I consider when I either have my personality or identity. That how am I behaving? What am I doing? And it's not always conscious. Like I don't think I always like sit down and think about those things or anything. But deep down, I consider like I think it's relevant to my decision making that is it going to be perceived by
Yeah, I get
others
it.
to a
Yeah,
degree.
yeah, I understand that.
And some
And
people give less shit about that.
yeah,
And some people give a lot of shit to that too. Like there's can be a
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think you're right
excessive.
in the normality in that sense because I don't think you're
Yeah,
not giving
in the
shit at
middle.
all or totally, giving up on what people are thinking about you.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I don't give a shit.
So.
Just to go back to your question about mine and
Uh-huh.
to connect with that one too.
Hmm.
Um, for me, regarding what also what I represent as a male, all right, the cisgenre man idea of what is a man, I do like stuff that are definitely more men oriented too. Like in terms of motorcycle, cars. I like pew pew sometimes, and I like gardening. I like fixing the house and do some stuff like that. Those are also definitely
Considered as a male thing.
yeah, exactly. And is it unconscious? Maybe. Maybe it's a representation of what I saw, what is a man, on TV when I was a kid. And I felt that I fit in that idea too. Even though I do have a lot of hobbies and the way I would like to express myself is non-defined in terms of gender, I would love that. But the reality is like even unconsciously I have biased regarding who am I and what I represent to the other people. Not just physically, but in terms of what I like on the daily basis and what I can do, what can I achieve. Like for example, earlier my mom wanted to open a can of pâté of foie gras. All right,
Hmm.
and she couldn't open it with her small arms, and
Hmm.
weak ends, and automatically she asking me to do it, and I open it straight up, and that still reinforced that idea that because I'm a man, I can do it, and she cannot do it. And yeah, at the end of the day,
And
unconsciously,
and
I'm
she
playing.
probably loosened it, and that's why you open it.
Yeah, obviously. She's so strong, dude. She's working out.
But
But yeah, I mean, at the end
yeah,
of the day,
yeah,
wait, just let me finish about that.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's still unconsciously, reaffirm that idea about, you know, bias that we have unconsciously.
I mean, I agree. I think there are a lot of if you go 100 years back, maybe even like 50 years back, I think before that, through the history, we always assume that it's biology, and I think it was so dominant that
Hmm.
we didn't even explore the social aspect. And now we know that there's so many social aspect to it. I think we are exploring it and pushing it like, no, it's not biology, and not, it's not biology. It's like more like we are doing this. It's in our minds. And I think we should push that as much as we can to see where, how much we can go. Because I do believe it's both, but you can't really know if you don't really push the social, if you cannot break the social constructs to see how much of it is biology. And I think a lot of it is social too. So I agree on you that, yeah, there are like still so many things that we do day to day that's like, oh, he's a man, he can do that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Your turn. Ask me a question.
My turn. Tell me a story about yourself that either kind of describes who you are, or just you find that story like very interesting that happened to you. Like, fuck, this was like such a weird experience that.
Wow. And we had one person watching what we're doing, and that
Right
is the
now?
first time that I have no idea what I want to talk
Shout
about.
out. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Dude,
watching.
there's so many experiences that I had that define me or who I am. I think the biggest problem. Okay, let me rephrase that. Rephrase that. All right. So
Yeah.
first of all, there's so many experiences that can define who I am, and I think it goes even further than that in terms of what define who I am and who I am. And I know that I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude at the end of
Okay.
the day.
Do you have a story to kind of give me a
Well,
gist of it? What it is?
no, that's the thing is I there's in my mind it's more about memories and what I perceive myself as a third person basically. Like there's some times on some part of my life where I can see myself from behind and I can see myself in this specific context.
You see
And
yourself from behind and damn,
I'm like,
that shit
damn,
looks
that guy is
good.
hot. No, but I don't know. It feels like especially when I was a child. All right,
Okay.
that I don't think I can really explain it, or I don't think it defines really who I am. But
Try it.
I like to get the idea that I'm contemplating things, and the way that
What do
I'm
you mean?
perceiving like contemplation.
Yeah.
I like to be amazed by things that I'm watching. Meaning like, but they don't define anything directly in terms of emotion or something like that. For example, one of the first things you say when you ask the question, the first thing that came to my mind was I was 9 years old, all right, and I got the gun from my father, who owned a gun that he was using. That it was a fake real gun. I mean, like he was shooting blanks. That's it. So there was no really opening into the barrel.
Hmm.
But he had this gun because he was traveling to Canada, and he had to have a gun or something to scare the bear, right? So he was
Okay.
hiking in Canada a lot of times, and he was going there with a hydroplane, and he was going on to these adventures, and he had this gun, right, with the
Blank
blank.
gun.
And
Okay.
what? Yeah, I still do have. I
You
mean, I
have it?
still have it. Yeah, I still have it. And but it's blank, so that means like there's no
Okay.
opening.
Okay.
You cannot chamber
Okay. It
anything.
makes
It's still
sound.
blank. You just make big loud sounds.
Yeah.
But I stumbled into it when I was 9 years old, right? And I was living at that period of time. I was living in the southeast of France, and I was in a small village where there was like 500 people. That's it.
Okay.
So we're like small community and small children's all together. You know, we were hanging out outside all the time, like because there was no big roads or streets, you know, crossing the village. So we were just hanging out a lot. And I do remember getting this, you know,
The
going
gun?
out, yeah, with the gun in my fanny pack. All right, 9 years old me, you know, and
Cool.
the I remember people were like, "Oh, I want to try it" and shit like that, you know. And we were shooting in the fucking middle of the street, like we were gangster and some shit. I don't know, but what is funny is like the vision that I had when you asked me the question has nothing to do with who I am, has nothing to do with anything. The only thing that I'm seeing is I'm seeing myself from behind with this gun, surrounded by two people, young friends that I had back then. And I'm looking further away in the distance because there's like these mountains in the southeast of France that I was seeing from afar that I fucking loved, and I love to draw it. And that's the only thing that just came to my mind when you asked that question, which doesn't define anything about me. Doesn't define any fucking bullshit that I did when I was going out, you know, every fucking single day when I was in Paris with a lot of people working in the music industry or fashion industry. That has nothing to define about who I am right now. But the
But that
contemplation,
was the story. That
I
was
don't
the
know.
story.
The first thing that came in my mind was that because I was contemplating something else, even though I had like this kind of power in my hand. Does that make sense?
So since
think
you're
there's
a
a metaphor
kid, you
behind
would
it.
like to keep the power in your hand.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I was not because I had the power in my hands, but I was looking further to the distance to something that is
You wanted
totally
something
abstract,
else.
a
Yeah.
landscape. Maybe you know that defines something. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Interesting. You learned something about yourself today. All right,
Yeah.
guys, this is our show. Thanks for
No.
soft music.
Okay, yeah.
And
Let
then
me
you can start
put-
crying.
Okay. Wait. Do we have?
All right, your turn. Give me a question.
All right.
The person who is watching can ask a question too.
Yeah. We can. We
get
can answer. You
questions.
know. Yeah. All right. I'm giving you a question, Arda. Why do you like stand-up comedy?
Why do I like it?
Yeah.
All right, I have a specific reason for that.
All right. First of all, you need to understand, guys, that we actually met because we said it in the previous episodes too, but we met in a film project together. All right.
In
So
Los
we're
Angeles.
definitely in Los Angeles. So we did a short film together. So we're always connected to that idea about, you know, how to create films and the intricacy of putting things together. And for me, for myself, I don't understand stand-up comedy, and you're a big fan of it. And
Yeah.
the way we connected for me is like unimaginable. So I cannot fucking understand and stand why you like it. So go ahead.
I mean, I have a specific reason because when I was growing up, so I'm from Turkey, and in late 90s, until maybe 1999, maybe a little bit early, we didn't have any stand-up comedians in Turkey. Nothing. So mostly how people do comedy is either you tell a story, or in theater, for example, there are like sketches, or even on TV, there are like bits. Like we had this famous political comedian that was doing like political bits, you know, to criticize the current. So comedy was storytelling in some sense, but it's more like a collaborative, or it was different. So stand up was not there. And in 1999, if I'm not mistaken with the year, there was this one dude who was doing stand up. And I don't know, probably in America, it's like a lot older.
Yeah, definitely.
Thing. So, and he was getting so much traction. Like people were loving it. And he had this show, like one person show. He was doing stand up that was hilarious. Like I first heard it on radio, like not radio, but it was a CD in the car. No, even it's a cassette, like you know the old
Cassette.
what is it? Cassette player? Yeah. And it was hilarious, dude. I was like just listening that shit for like an hour long. It was really funny because he was talking about like movies and he was kind of like singing with Turkish culture in some sense. Like he had, for example, a bit about if a RoboCop would be a traffic cop in Turkey and stop people. You know, like it's kind of like a
Okay.
funny bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and kept doing it for like maybe 5, 6 years at new shows, and I love that guy. Like that, I was like such a fan. I was like watching his shit all the time, and I think that was the first time I started to look into other stand-up comedians, which is mostly American and some are British, I guess. Um, and yeah, I think that was the start of it. And then I kept watching it, kept trying to discover it. My biggest failure is Louis C.K. That was so weird, dude. Because I was watching so many different comedians, but Louis C.K. was one of them. I was like, this guy is so talented and so funny, and it's just making these controversial jokes and stuff. And then he was masturbating in front of people. I'm like, fuck.
You know that he was
God
actually
damn it.
going out with a stand-up comedian from France. Like she was one of her one. I don't think they were married, but he was going out with a famous French comedian too that was doing stand-up comedy too here.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Like they were together.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Is it like recent?
No, it was like back in the same time there was like this controversy. Like she
Oh,
kind of
okay.
disappeared too at the same time in France. I don't
No,
know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, looking crazy, man.
But I think that was the start of it. Like why I. Okay, I have a similar question for you.
All right,
How and why did you get into fashion?
fuck models. All right. Yeah, it's so complete. No, I'm kidding. This is really interesting though because like people are, would assume that a lot of people are like have this image of photographer in the fashion industry that basically just want to date or go out with models. Um, for me, it was just a question about I like
I mean, to be honest, it could be just model answer. I can take that account too. If it's that, that's fine. I wouldn't judge.
no, but it's not the case. Though I was the way it happened is this is like always work in the culture, you know, regarding fashion in Paris. There was always a friend that worked in the fashion industry in some way, always. So when I was working in the music industry, even though I had like a fashion brand on my own, I still knew some people that were in fashion school. And Paris is still really small. So when you have some hobbies that you're sharing with other people or some passions, for sure you're going to interact with other people that are having other passions that could interact between each others. So basically, I do remember having a good friend of mine, and she was working in the fashion industry. She was doing. I was a musician back then. I had like my band only, and I was starting to put the label together in the music industry. And she was a good friend of mine. She posed for my brand, but she was also doing a fashion internship, and she went to do the Rob tour, which was a rock punk rock, you know, festival across the U.S. back then. And she was working for Vans at that time. So there was like this interaction really closed, I think, before back in the 2010s, maybe still happening, where there's like this mix of the fashion, the music, and maybe the film a little bit, but at least TV, I would say. So those three were kind of connected always because you knew someone that was doing something else in that environment. So regarding the entertainment, because I was in the music industry back then, I had connection with the fashion industry, and I went out with someone that was working in the fashion industry, and I had the opportunity to go to fashion shows and seeing catwalks and how, you know, the industry was working and how crazy it is and how completely separate from the rest of the world is. You know, those people living another reality that has nothing to do with what people are living on a daily basis. And I don't know, I felt like I was feeling comfortable in that, even though it's a terrible it's it's not human at all for a lot of people to work in this industry. But there's this thing, and everybody that is working in the fashion industry always gonna say something about that. There's like this atmosphere, or you working for some form of art that is behind things that people don't really understand. And when you're
Kind of
in
like Hunger
there,
Games.
Yeah, maybe. But when you're in there, it feels it's like LA, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's like either you like it or you don't like it. And if you
Yeah.
like it, there's this atmosphere, right, where you feel comfortable in it and you fit perfectly well. And I think that's where I was. At that moment, I was doing a lot of photos, shoots, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, why not working even more into that? And then I only met girlfriends, basically, that work in the fashion industry for a while. So, yeah.
Models, you mean? I think I liked your first answer. I'm going to go with that.
But that was not the case. That's the thing. Because a lot of people are actually coming to this industry with that intent, which was not my case because I just, got into the fashion industry by the back door. But I don't think I should say that either. So,
Yeah.
right, another question?
Turn.
No.
You're a little bitch. I'm not.
Well, you are. That's what I'm
Okay.
asking you every single day. I'm trying to find something interesting.
Time. Don't take it too long because we don't want to lose our one and only
viewers.
watcher. Say something, man.
Or girl.
I mean, I was asking that. Sometimes at the restaurant, I go like, "Hi,
Dude,
guys."
what's up, dude?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Guys, like, is it because guys, sounds like guys?" And they were like, "No, guys, you can use it with anybody, old, young, women."
Well, actually, there's a lot of people that are saying that no, there's like guys and there's gals.
Yeah,
for
but
girls.
gals is like saying like, it's make a lot of people be like, "Did you just say gals?" Like it's like saying, "Stop joshing me" or something. Like you don't say that. Joshing me. But yeah, I say guys generally go if I go to a table. Thanks guys, have a good day guys, or whatever. But anyways,
Okay.
the person who is on the other side writes something. See the name? What's the name?
I don't know, man. There's no name.
You can't see it?
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Maybe
We're not pushing. It's fine.
Oh no, we're pushing.
All right. I have a question for you, dude. Again. So I think it's following exactly what we just talked.
Okay.
Which is why don't you have any sense of fashion? It goes to the same question that I asked before with stand-up comedy. It's kind of the same idea. No, wait. No, I just want to mention that first of all, because like for me, it's kind of the same question, all right? Because the way I think I can define you, it's, and especially regarding our conversations that we have and the podcast and all the interaction that we had through those years, all right? You feel like someone that understands craftsmanship and that understand in some way art and how art is made up, all right? So I don't understand why you don't have any taste.
In the like when it comes
in
to like
terms of
what
fashion.
I'm wearing.
Yeah.
That was going to be my answer. I was going to, because I don't have a taste. But if you want me to go more deeper, because I have an understanding of art, I have an understanding of craftsmanship, but taste is something else. I think it's more of a my mind generally good to recognize systems, mechanism, patterns in like things happening around me. But when it comes to social things, social patterns, and maybe a little bit more of a social intelligence or emotion, but social intelligence, I would say. I think a fashion understanding has that type of, like when you have a taste in fashion, I think when you look at a magazine or when you go out, when you observe people, that's like paying attention to that, you start to see patterns. You start to see this works, this doesn't work. This works, this doesn't work. And I, for some reason, cannot make that differentiation. It might be something that you learn, but I think it's also it's like a perception a little bit, like
because for me it's kind of the same idea as movies in general. When you're seeing a movie, you see the patterns, you see the craftsmanship, right?
I mean, I consume a lot of movies.
I know, but there's like this visual interpretation that you can have, right? So you're seeing this and you can reflect on what you're seeing. And I think the fashion is the same idea. You can see through the shape, through the craftsmanship, what is good, not good, and also what is kind of, Good. So you don't have to have taste because, like, for example, what I like in fashion is definitely not going to be the same thing as someone else. But
We lost
in
our
terms
guest.
of understanding,
That was a
I know, don't cut it.
boring answer.
Don't cut it. Actually, it says hi. Someone said hi,
What?
you know, and maybe they left. Yeah.
No.
Crowd's a gamer. Yeah. Fuck, dude. I'm
Yeah,
making
man.
my answer first of all. Don't be excited. So, all right. I fucking lost it, bitch.
Oops. Oh wait. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
We are great. How are you? No, I want to talk with Krads.
We are great. Oh, that's me. That's you. All right. You texting with me? Oh,
Sleep
do you guys
paralysis.
know about
we have
sleep
actually
paralysis?
we actually have a creature in Turkish folklore that like he sits on you and then you cannot move.
This is such
It's
an
a supernatural creature. I'm not
di-
bullshitting. It's called what the hell was its name?
I mean, first of all, do we know about sleep paralysis? A little bit. What is interesting is I have my girlfriend that is actually having a lot of sleep paralysis nowadays, and she's freaking out because she still don't understand what it is. And I'm seeing a lot of things about it, and I think one of our episode, because we're gonna do maybe an episode special for Halloween, I think we're gonna talk about it. We mentioned it in the list that we want to talk about. What about you? Do you have any sleep paralysis or story about it?
Me?
No, Kratz.
Oh, Krads. Yeah, tell us more, Krads. Basan. That's the one.
Karabasan.
Kara
What does that
basan.
mean?
It's Kara means black, and basan is like push, like a black pusher or something like that. Like it just pushes, just sits on you.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, that's fucking crazy, man. I want to share something. I'm 22 years old from India. I've been facing sleep paralysis. It's been 15 years, and I see same stuff, which is a scary woman named
Named
Bangeleo
Yeah, maybe it's the
Okay.
same
entity.
entity. Yeah.
Well, I had
Different
this
cultures name
conversation.
is differently. I mean, there is a photo, I think, even in like the Renaissance era. There's this woman lying down, and there's this creature sitting on it, like a devil or something, or like a demon. You
Nice.
probably know of that photo.
Maybe. So that's the thing. So I never had any sleep paralysis ever. I know a lot of people saying that as supernatural in some way, and I don't believe in supernatural, but I do like supernatural. What is crazy is I stumbled into this video the other day where Joe Rogan was talking about that with another dude. And I sent that to my girlfriend, and she was freaking out because she was like, "Don't send me that." because
What were
the-
they talking about?
because they were talking about sleep paralysis, and the guy was like saying, "Yeah, you know that happens," and I was freaking out because like I only heard about it really 6 months before, you know, and I've been through that experience so many times before, and I was freaking out, and I didn't know what was going on, and then I understood that all the people that basically were doing had the same experience. But the part that I didn't fucking know was this: is he's saying that when you're typing, you know, sleep paralysis on Google, there is this picture and everybody's saying the same thing. And Joe
Yeah.
Rogan just went fucking nuts, and my girlfriend started to freak out because of it, because they're saying that it's always the same person, whatever you going, wherever you're going on Earth, it's always the same thing. So
I don't know about that. I don't know about.
I also
same-
know what's her house, and she's got long hair and all. It's been so many years that I'm fed up of it. She's always says something in Portuguese, interesting, which I don't understand that much. I'm learning the Portuguese. It's been a week. Duolingo, please sponsor us. I said it to my friend and parents, but no one takes it seriously. It's actually really interesting. There's a lot of things that, first of all, we talked about mental illness on our podcast many times. And what we understand is there's only some concept of things that people are starting to understand nowadays. It's been, thank you, I appreciate for the follow. And a lot of people are just realizing or understanding some concept that we didn't know how existed before, and people they were not sure or they didn't express their experience before. And we talked about neurodivergency and we talked about depression, things like that. But this is also something that is interesting regarding actually sleep paralysis, because sleep paralysis, my sister, and she's almost 40, she's having night terrors and also sleep paralysis since she's been maybe 15, 16.
This is your sister?
My sister, and she's still doing that. My
And
girlfriend,
she's
that
still
happened to
having
her
it?
only a few months ago, but my sister, that happened to her for like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so weird and so difficult to express that, and I totally get you, because my girlfriend, for example, she really I mean, I know some about sleep paralysis and how it is created in the brain in a specific time during the night and things like that, but she doesn't know that. And even if I'm trying to rationalize that with her, she's still freaking out. And it's really difficult, because when you're expressing that, and I think for her totally, when she's expressing it this, like, it feels like she's not understanding, like people are not understanding what she's going through.
So when you see that woman, you say you're scared and you're experiencing something, fear, because fear is interesting too. I think once you are in those moments, I wonder, because you don't have did your sister do anything to work with the sleep paralysis? Like if you go to a
No,
doctor, no,
no,
right?
she never worked on it.
There isn't. I wonder if there is a medical kind of approach to it.
All right,
Because
so like, I mean, I'm going to tell you this. So there is
yeah,
approach for sure. It's psychologist, right?
yeah.
It's a therapist.
Okay, so it's not like you go and get some tests and get a medicine or something.
I mean, you can have like anti-anxiety things, or things to help you fall asleep deeper and faster in some way. Because the way it works, all right, for sleep paralysis, from what I understand, it's basically at the beginning of sleep, you're starting to actually sleep, but yeah, then you're in this light light sleep, phase where you're not dreaming, but you're sleeping at the same time. But there's this awareness and this consciousness that is really strong, and you're leaving what you're thinking and your fear, even though you're kind of sleeping at the same time.
So
So
you're
the
awake,
problem,
but you're also sleeping.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and so the problem is, for people, this is where there's this fine line between reality and not supernatural aspect to it, because like they can feel physically, they can see stuff, and they
I
can
mean, even in
feel
a
it.
dream, like there are some dreams that I'm like, it's really real. Like you feel the fucking moment as you're there.
Yeah, no, but the biggest part is the big difference is like you're in this reality at the same time. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know
That's
about you. I know
I've never happened to me.
it's a question about hallucination, but I don't know about you, but normally it's you're in your bed anyway, like in your room, in your
Yeah,
bedroom, in your bed, and you're totally aware with your surrounding.
it must be scary. Have you ever
It is.
confronted that woman in your dream?
I mean,
But you're
actually,
paralyzed.
I was going to that. Going to that. Are you? Is it like in your bedroom while you're asleep? Basically, first of all, like, does that appear? Like, does that? I mean, are you aware of your surrounding when that happens?
I wonder if it's like around her, around him, like somewhere, like she's standing, or like is she like sitting on you or something?
When you sleep, so it's in your bedroom. Basically, that's the idea.
Okay.
Um, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people, it's not like when you're outside or another place, or it's not always where it's been, but it's mostly they are aware of the environment that they are. For example, I'm going to tell you this story about my girlfriend. Um, the story was this: so she was asleep, right? And
Oh, I see.
and it's
Okay.
interesting because that's I don't think she was talking Portuguese in her experience. But what happened is this: she was falling asleep. The window curtains were not that close outside, all right, and then she saw those two people, one in the front of her bed, like at the bottom of her bed, like fully on the other side, and someone that I was staring on the side first of all. Right? So she had like those two moments, and they're starting to talk or trying to say something, and what she understood was like there was a problem with her electricity in the apartment. So she was like, okay, I need to go and fix, the electrical panel. So she went there, tried to fix the electrical panel because the light was not working, and she remember, trying to press on the switch for turning on the light, but she couldn't. So she went there, didn't change things, and then she went back to bed, and she was like, okay. And then there was this woman that came, and then she started to actually put her hands on her neck and saying something. And and then when she was doing that, at one point she was like, okay, get the fuck out. And that's the thing that, I mean, I don't think she was speaking Portuguese, that's what I'm saying, but she was telling her something, and I think, no, it actually was in France. But she was telling her, you gonna pay for it, or some shit like that, which is fucking crazy. Can you imagine that? Like, you're, whatever you're leaving, you're having someone choking you, all right, and saying like you're gonna pay for it. So she was really feeling that pressure, and the only thing that worked for her to push her away that person was to actually fight back in some way, like saying like, leave me alone, get the fuck out, and things like that. And at that moment, she turned around, and then there was nobody. She woke up, she turned on the light would then turn on, all right, and she went to check out if she actually touched the electrical panel, and she didn't. Like, the electrical panel, you needed to move some piece of furniture to access it, but no, the piece of furniture was there. She never touched it. So this whole idea was basically embedded in her, but the way she was feeling it was definitely fucking nightmarish, 100%.
I mean, the interesting part is also you can see it as an external being that's like a supernatural thing happening to you, or you can see it that you are experiencing something in your mind that you are creating. And you said that you sometimes get like these marks on you. So might be something that your brain carries as a big weight that you either need to determine, because you said 15 years. Like, did something happen 15 years ago that was so traumatic for you that you created a being in your mind that
I think
that you are seeing almost every night?
I think it's a great question, not in terms of you creating, because I don't think you create automatically, but maybe something happened. Because, like, the way it worked for my girlfriend, the way that appears for her, first of all, she had marks on her neck too.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to understand that. Like, she was actually, when she understood what happened, she understood that she was choking herself. Herself. With her hands. So there was no one choking herself, but it was her, and the way her tightness was in her hands, like, she basically created marks on herself. And that's scary too, because, like, you feel the external physical touch and pressure, but it's from yourself at the same time. It's because you literally do it to yourself. So this is also, of course, scary. But regarding what you just said, Arda, and I just want to finish on that. What is interesting is I know that happened to her at a specific after a specific event, and I know that event and why. And I think it's also a question that you should ask yourself: is like, was there something traumatic that happened in your life? And I'm not saying you're creating that. I'm not saying that, but this hallucination in some way, kind of represents something, maybe, for sure. But usually it goes with stress, that, apparently, because from what I'm reading, you know about it too. But so there's this state of stress that you're going on that might reflect something that you lived before. For her, for example, I know it's related to some personal issue with her family, but also definitely with an event when she was somewhere and someone tried to get into her hotel room back then. And she started to freak out about it, and she was not secure. She started to freak out about it, and then disappeared. And then at one moment when things started to be not really good in her mind in terms of the stress going on and things like that, she started to have those basically happening.
I mean, I was going to say, I actually remember, I think I was watching a video, or maybe I was listening something that, like there's like personality, like split personality disorder. And then you have a person who has different characters, and then you kind of switch in those personalities, right? So he might be professor or more like academic, like talking person. And on the other hand, he has another personality that's like more like childlike, whatever, like you have multiple personalities. But I was also reading that could happen in your dreams too. Like you can create a personality or an aspect of your being that exists as a person. So
Okay.
you see that person, but it's kind of like interacts with you in a either positive way or a negative way. So that woman that you're seeing might be a aspect of you, a personality or someone that maybe you carry for some reason. But I think you need to investigate what happened 15 years ago, maybe even before, if it started around that time.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe. I don't know if it's a question
you need
about
to make your peace with
supernatural.
that being. That's like, because
I
there's like an inner conflict in some sense.
Yeah. And
Uh,
maybe, this idea of course, not telling your family. And I understand, people come from different background and
yeah, it can be hard.
family and culture and things like that. But what I would try to see is try to find some help to open yourself in some way. I
Hmm.
think first of all that you're doing it right now with us is great. Thank you. But I know there's a lot of people having this experience, and it definitely similar in some way. And there's always something, that started all of that, and then you need also to reflect on your present right now, and how your life is going on, and how this will influence your state of mind that then create those crises. Because mostly I would prefer saying like those are crises, those moments when that happened. Even if it's every night, as you're saying, still, it's not normal, and I still think it's some part of yourself that is locked in some way regarding maybe trauma, as you're saying, but also it's a state of mind that you have throughout the day, and stress that you're putting yourself in when you're going to sleep. And I think the best advice I would give is trying to find a way to, as you're saying, Arda, maybe, get peace with that person.
Yeah, you need to acknowledge it and maybe even
Yeah,
meditating before going bed in the sense of like
exactly.
showing gratitude, and maybe that it's a being that you respect or whatever. It's kind of might smooth things up with your interactions in the dreams too.
Yeah. In order even to be peaceful, you need to relearn, learn again, learn back, that sleep can be good and you could be safe. Because as you're saying, and I know maybe it's so dumb for me to say that, but since it's been 15 years, nothing really happened to you. So at the end of the day, maybe that person is there to tell you something, and maybe it's a bad person, but maybe you can interact and be peaceful with that person, being like, okay, I acknowledge you, but you don't commend me, or you don't owe me, or something like that.
I mean,
And,
I don't
and
know if you have you done therapy before? Anything related with this? I don't know if you go to any therapist who is like maybe expert on this kind of an issue. Because I remember some people do like hypnosis and some stuff like that works for them because like it's such a deep, um, maybe almost subconscious thing that they're experiencing because you're sleeping at the same time too. So sometimes hypnosis can help you go to more
the
deep
state
and
of mind, yeah, and
yeah,
then try to find that, yeah, for sure.
like some
Could
people
definitely
do
help.
ayahuasca for that. But we don't recommend that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
mean, there should be some therapists or psychological help you can get. I mean, asking help is definitely important if you're having serious issues.
yeah, I
Well,
get it.
no.
Yeah, and you're watching our stream. Thank you, first of all, and second of all, I don't know if that's really the good theme, to talk about it. I mean, if that helps, to be more relaxed, cool. But last time that I did that to my girlfriend, she was started to freak out. So I don't know.
Do you have the being that interacting with you? Does she have a name? You said she's talking like Portuguese, but you don't. If there is no name or anything in your mind that being has, Portuguese. You say it may not be Portuguese, right?
I mean, no, not actually. My girlfriend and my sister, they don't speak Portuguese at all. No, I think they're speaking French because they're French. That's why. But why not Portuguese? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just checking the pictures, dude. Those are fucking crazy and scary pictures as fuck.
Did you write Karabasan?
No, how you spell it?
Kara
K A
R
R
A
A
B
B
A S.
Karabasan. It's the same shit. The same picture that actually comes from the question actually.
Banjaleo. Goa.
Oh, but okay, that's what you call her. So
Or
it's
I
the
mean,
same
she
idea.
maybe told him. West India Goa. Have you ever been in West India Goa? Like, have you go in that region? Have you ever been there in your life?
Are you from there?
Start a podcast with supernatural.
Oh, oh, interesting. You can pop up, dude. Those
The
messages on top of the
messages.
video. Yeah, interesting.
You do it.
I have
Go
a
on
question. I have a question actually about that too. Because I think it's a question about also. Do you have like, if you don't have, I mean, when that not happening, basically, when it is not happening, do you have like weird dreams in general, where you have like interaction with other people, and you're saying you had a girlfriend, and then she is maybe you do some stuff when you're with her, she can hear you do stuff or talking or something like that? Or have you ever had like a dream where you see yourself as a third person, basically, out of body experience or something like that? Have you ever had those?
You should go to West India Goa and try to find. He say yes. Try to find the house. Try to find where she is. Maybe she will direct you there.
Interesting.
Okay.
You seeing yourself being stabbed by her, like, so you see yourself on the bed and basically she's trying to stab yourself. You're also feeling the physical touch, no?
Like the physical, the pain of being stabbed.
Kind of, not the pain, but yeah, the feeling of being stabbed, maybe.
I saw dreams like really rarely, like getting stabbed or like someone being violent, but it's like it kind of feels weird. Like I don't really, it doesn't feel like I'm getting stabbed, but it just like had this like weird feeling to it.
What do you mean, like you seen inside her house? Are you talking about
The West India,
the demon, or are you talking about your girlfriend being stabbed?
no, Bangaleo. I think she is the
Yeah, I get it.
being India
being,
Goa. Seems like she maybe lived in 400 years ago as one of those Portuguese. Maybe someone did something. Maybe she's asking help from you. Maybe you should. I mean, I would actually recommend to go to West India, Goa, and then spend some time there, and then sleep there a few nights and see what's gonna happen. Like I'm curious to kind of like. I would say
in her house. Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
I feel like in the West India part, wherever
Okay.
the bank, like it's almost like there is this woman lived there, maybe in some point in time that suffered, maybe, but maybe I don't know, because he's also describing that Portuguese ruled in that area, so I don't know if like horrific things happened.
Wait, there's like, do you have any knowledge about something that happened to your family in general? You were telling me about the story, but even further, in the past, something that happened throughout, I don't know, when, British or, as you were saying, Portuguese were ruling those parts. So, like personal connection to that era.
I mean, I think so interesting that like I have friends I've never really experienced in the sense of like I always treat it as a dream or like something that I create in my mind, whatever is happening. But I didn't have anything like this consistently like happening for like 15 years, like the same thing. So that to me is I'm alien to that idea.
I do have some experience about that, but not regarding sleep paralysis. There's this other thing which is called sleepwalking. I mean,
Yeah.
more people know about that, but it's still basically the same idea. And I have personally kind of a problem with sleepwalking, which is regarding actually sex. I know it's not
Uh-huh.
funny. And this is something that we're going to talk for our fourth episode of this new season on our podcast, because that's literally what it says: Halloween, death, fear, sleep paralysis, ghost stories, consciousness, unconscious. Interesting.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I fully know how the house looks like. Second floor house, a garden. Well, the windows and big part of the house named something like Demla or something. Clearly can't read the name. Interesting. Well, if there's generational trauma behind it, as I was telling you regarding maybe the past of your family or something like that, maybe that can carry on.
Yeah.
Like
To be
regarding
honest.
sleep paralysis or ghost stories most of the time, and I can relate to that too. Like I have stories on my own where it feels like my family was cursed, because like I have stories about my grandmother and person wearing blacks, on top of a bed saying something to someone in the kitchen or something like that for small children. So those always exist, and I think every culture has it. But maybe it's coming from generational trauma. Maybe it's a personal trauma. Maybe something that happened to you when you were a kid, when you were maybe 3 years old. You don't remember, but it's still
But
embedded
also, it's
in
what you're saying is so
unconsciousness.
fascinating that, like, I don't think this is a scientific idea, but you can maybe pass memories, like such a traumatic event someone
Maybe,
experienced in the
yeah.
family that gene just like passed, but you are activating it, and it's kind of maybe experiencing a generation, like someone in your family tree experienced something. Maybe I don't know. But I think it would be interesting to kind of investigate your own family history a little bit. Sometimes it's not easy to really go back to it and figure out things. But maybe you can go again to that city or place that you're seeing her, and then just spend some time there. I don't know, it will be
Yeah.
helpful, but you can make peace with it in your mind, or whatever with that. If it's a memory or if it's something related
Maybe
with
if it's
your
not a memory, maybe you don't even remember that place, or you've never been, as you were saying. I understanding,
no, no,
but it's
not his
still,
memory.
yeah, I know.
Like
But
I'm just speculating that like
even
someone in his
before,
family.
obviously,
Yeah.
for sure. But for example, I had like a traumatic event that happened to me a few years ago, and I wanted to go back to my roots. All right, and one of the story that I said earlier about the small village when I was a kid. All right, I basically went onto a road trip around my country, and I went to places that I was when I was a kid, and I had these memories of those places, really bad memories too, and I hated that period of time in my life, and to go there at a different period of time and seeing the same places just gave me another. I just opened myself again. I demystified basically the places and all the bad memories that I have regarding that place. I'm not saying that what I lived was not right, but it actually helped me to go into those places again and understanding. Oh, okay, I had this feeling about this place, but actually being there just desensitized myself from what I was feeling. So maybe, yeah, as Arda is saying, maybe it's a good idea maybe to go there just to break the rules.
Yeah. It's really interesting topic. Like I remember, may I tell you a story about
Thank you.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this? So when I was in military, it's mandatory in Turkey that you need to go, and I did like 6 months of military service. And then one of the things you do is every night you have a watch duty, like 2 hours. They kind of give you a post. You go to that post, like either 1 to 3, like 3 to 5, 5 to 7, and it just kind of skips. And then you go with a person. So you have like maybe 2 hours at a post in the middle of the night, right? I'm having a conversation with one of my, like friends there. We're in the same base, and we're just doing our post duty. And we talk about these kind of stuff, like supernatural stuff. And he tells me a story that he go through, and he asks me like, do you think it's a supernatural thing, or if it's in my mind? If it's in my mind, how is it happening? Like I can't really explain it. So this is a story he told me. Um, a year before this event happened to him, he lost few family members, like people really close to him. I don't remember who they were, but like close family members. And so he's living at this apartment. He goes back home like 10ish. He kind of hang out at the living room a little bit. He said that we have these like tea kind of like pods that you put it on the oven that kind of like slow cooks.
Uh-huh.
And he kind of said that I put the oven was turned on low. I remember locking the door. That's what he said. He doesn't remember any windows open or anything, so the windows are closed. And then he kind of hang out at home. He says like I worked on the computer a little bit and then go back to my living bedroom, and I'm kind of like organizing some stuff. But he's alone, and he kind of like expresses that day was like he was low, like he didn't really felt well. And then he walks back to living room, and it's kind of like at that point it's like 2 a.m. or something. But he's like I'm already like wanna like getting sleepy and stuff. So he goes back to the living room, and he says there was a woman sitting in the living room. He froze, and he said I couldn't talk. I was like kind of felt like froze where I am looking at this woman. And she stands up and then slowly starts walking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he says like halfway, like she's getting closer to me, right? So with each step, he starts to feel like this fear. And then halfway, she is close to him. He says like I start feeling my legs were shaking. So and my chest like kind of having like an anxiety. So he closes his eyes, go and falls on his knees, and he starts praying. But he says like I can feel like I can feel like she was getting closer, and she was like right in front of me, right? So he's like keep praying, and he opens his eyes, and the lights are turned off, and like the windows are open, the lady's gone, and then he starts yelling like help, help, and then he goes out the apartment, and the door is not locked, it's open. So when he goes out, he's yelling like help, help, and people come, and then they check the house. There's nothing, of course. The oven is turned off, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and like he cannot explain how this happened, right? Like what was that? What was that thing in my house? Open the doors, open the windows, the lights went off all of a sudden, right? And my explanation is this, like either he saw a being, a ghost that needed to contact with him for some reason that he can only figure out the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other reason could be that he was so traumatized through that year, like emotionally, mentally, maybe from an existential point of view, that his brain created this being. Explanation of the windows and the doors is when he fall down and close his eyes for a second. He doesn't remember it, but he opened the windows, he opened the doors, he turned off the lights, go back where he was in the same position, and open his eyes. And if this is the truth, this is fascinating that he deassociates himself from
dissociate, for sure.
all the other things that was happening in that house. But there are examples like that, like these kind of disassociations happen with people.
Yeah.
Like we know that.
Even during the day, you know,
Yeah.
that people dissociate from reality, the way they see reality in general. I don't feel that they're part of it. And I think that's also what is great about the brain, but it's also completely fucked up. And this is the fine line where you don't have clear explanation, especially because it's something that you live or you experience on your own.
You go through it.
And you go through it, and it's different a little bit each time for each people. Or actually, when it's not that different from others, you're like, okay, there's something then. You know, it just reinforces that idea. And then reinforcing that idea just makes you live that even more and more.
Yeah.
I don't know. But from what you're saying, from what you're saying,
That's where I work.
Kratz, it's kind of the same. You know, like the story that he's saying is there's different steps to it. Basically, it feels like it's more sleepwalking at the same time because he interacted with his environment too, you know.
Yeah.
But your story is really interesting. And as we're saying, and by the way, hi, Dan, I guess, and Forbidden West. But, you know, people experience the same thing. But as we're saying, maybe, you know, you need to confront it because maybe it's something that is deeper in yourself or maybe not. And maybe if there's even hints of reality from what we're saying, and a lot of people would think about that, then just go for it. Go check it out. Like, if that happened for you for so many years, you know you're not at risk. And the best thing you can have is, like, face your biggest fear that you could have.
Like, you need to know that you have the control on those things. Like, you need to make your peace with it. You need to... And I think that's what might be an interesting practice to try. Like, before you go to bed and before you sleep, maybe practice that, like, acknowledge that part of you that, you know, seeing it. And I don't know, it's hard because you said it's scary. Like, that's the thing, you need to kind of come over that fear, and it's hard, bro. I guess those are our take.
I'm going to show on stream what Dan just said because I think it's interesting too. Do you guys think there's a link between things that are supernatural and alien?
That's Matt's specialty.
That's really interesting too, because I'm not gonna actually, you know, like move away from what Kratz said, but I actually listened to a podcast episode today that was talking about alien abduction, and I think there's this connection that definitely can be made. And in this podcast about abduction, it was not like those bullshit that you can see. It was like those were testimony that were registered by the police here in France, and they're basically, you know, opening those cases. There's like maybe 10 folders, you know, from like 50 years ago, and people are explaining about, you know, abduction and how they live through abduction. And I knew, you know, there's different type of encounter that we're saying, like, you know, first time, second, third, fourth, and I didn't even know there's like a 7 type of encounter, which is basically sexual encounter with aliens. I didn't know about that. That could be a whole episode
but
about
also,
itself.
I'm curious, like,
but wait, but the whole point that I wanted to make is what I think is interesting, because I do believe in aliens in general. I think, you know, intelligence, and like we can, like, there's so many things, and I have so many stories about that. But regarding supernatural, I don't think so that much. But what was interesting through that podcast episode, though, was the connection that you can basically make in between that, because the way the people that are living some those alien abduction, when you're talking with them, the way they express it, the way they explain it, what happened, and the fear that they're having can definitely be connected to this idea of sleep paralysis too.
But
Like
can you
they're
also give us an example of like the supernatural and alien connection? Like what type of an event are we talking about? Because I feel like when people who are talking about aliens or alien abductions or they see something, they kind of describe it as like an alien encounter, right? But then
yeah.
how it is becoming a supernatural thing. Like say you see a ghost and the ghost is actually going to a spaceship and then you see a spaceship and the spaceship leaves, kind of a thing, or like what, how do you make that connection? Or is the aliens are supernatural, like they are kind of like fourth
Yeah,
dimensional
good
beings or
question.
something like that?
Yeah,
Because
but Kratz,
I remember watching something about it, that aliens are not actually coming from other planets necessarily, but they're like another from another dimension. So they
yeah,
are visiting from that dimension.
yeah.
So it's not even like in our universe or anything.
Yeah, maybe. But still, what I really liked about this podcast episode that I was listening, there's such a correlation between those alien, idea and even what we were talking about, sleep paralysis too.
Is that connected?
Yeah, I would agree with creds for sure. It's like
Oh, okay.
UFO
Yeah, I see.
events. You mean, okay, in terms of the perception of the reality of if it's real or not, basically what you're saying. Then I think as
Kratz? Yeah.
Kratz, I think Kratz, what you're saying, I think I would lean toward that idea about more advanced technology and things like that. But just to connect to it both, as you're saying, like this idea of people getting abducted by aliens, the way they describe it and the way they feel it and the way they express their emotion when they're going through those experiences is definitely connected also to the idea of what we just talked about regarding sleep paralysis too. It's the same idea. They are living through it. So is it real? Are they like, I do believe in UFOs. I do believe maybe aliens intelligence out there exists for sure, 100%. But that interaction, the way it is expressed is definitely close to this idea of supernatural that we having or we talked about before, even regarding sleep paralysis and what your brain is made up or something like that.
Also, anything supernatural, anything is supernatural as long as you have a natural explanation to it. Like once you are capable of naturally explaining it, that's not supernatural anymore. But
Yeah.
that's the hard part, right? With these kind of experiences. That's why, especially with Kratz, that what he's going through, I believe there's a way he can live with this 100%.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's his experience. He can maybe look for other people's experiences. Anybody who figured it out, who lived with it, might be helpful. But yeah, there are many people like going through these kind of experiences. The UFO is, yeah, that's an interesting alley. I don't
Because
know.
it's so different because like
It's
when we were
in
talking
some
about
sense, yeah, you can
yeah
make some educated
statement for sure.
statement about UFOs in the sense of, oh, there are so many planets, so many stars, and like they might be traveling, blah blah blah, maybe a technology that we're not aware of. So you can still justify it in more maybe scientific grounds.
Yeah, and then and even like in terms of how people are having this experience. My sister, for example, is a pilot, and she saw some weird shit in the sky that she cannot explain. And you can see from other pilots too that they have experiences. But then, if you're asking someone that is living in Kentucky, and having an experience with like a real UFO that he's seeing, then it's a total experience because it's definitely not the same. Hi, Brendan, and then and regarding the big difference there's between sleep paralysis that we were talking about, UFOs and aliens in general, is like alien and things. I think they're more grounded to reality in terms of science idea, but also there's so many different experiences that it's difficult to find it. Regarding sleep paralysis, and to go back to Kratz and you, Dan, too, is the experience kind of the same all the time. and it's you have some people that understand 100% why they're having those sleep paralysis, and it's still interesting that at the same time a lot of people are seeing the same thing.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. Like he was
So
talking about the shadow people. I think there is also another like the shadow with the hat, the man with the hat or something like that.
yeah,
Oh, there's the Mothman. I don't know if you know the Mothman.
Mothman.
There's kind of like this people seeing this like shadow kind of a thing, but has wings, and then eyes are like kind of bright. And they're seeing like, say, you go out to trash, like put your trash out, right? And then they see it on the corner or something.
Yeah.
And then they of course freak out, and then they go back or try, and then it's disappeared. And then I was watching this girl talking about, again, like the fourth dimensional beings. Like she was saying, your shadow, you live in the three-dimensional realm, right? And then we have time, fourth dimension. But she was saying your shadow is two-dimensional, like it falls on the ground, right? So she was saying, as third-dimensional beings, our shadow is two-dimensional. So the fourth dimensional being's shadow should be third dimensional. So we see the shadow of some beings from the fourth dimension as like these things appearing sometimes to us, but we cannot describe what it is. And I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting theory that I don't know how to go further than that, but it's an interesting idea. Like
It is. Dan, can you explain to us what is shadow people? And I'm going to answer to you first of all, Kratz, regarding temporary advices. From what we say, I think first of all, take some melatonin before sleeping so you can fall asleep faster.
melatonin, yeah.
Fuck that, take it. All right, high dose, you're gonna fall asleep deep, straight up. So I don't like the chances for you to, go back to this state where it's like in between might not be that much. First,
Have you ever tried melatonin, Kratz? Because that's like a regular, like
yeah, off the counter.
melatonin. Just like a 3 grams or something. I don't know.
Yeah, 3 grams. And after that, I think Arda made a good point about trying to relax before going to bed, and then try to do some breathing exercise, read some things that take your mind out of it, and then go for it. Just confront that shit. Like
Try melatonin.
in your dreams, or even in the real place, as you were saying. Go there, and try to experience and get out from your mind and the place that you were mentioning before. Maybe facing that, maybe it's gonna create some relief to you for sure, 100%.
Yeah,
But you need to confront it.
Yeah.
But melatonin for sure. First point, melatonin. Pretty easy. You're gonna go to
I mean,
good
you
sleep.
can look up to melatonin too, like online, Google melatonin, what it is. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a natural thing your body kind of produces, so that makes you go to deep sleep. But sometimes when you have sleeping disorders, like your body may not go to that REM, like deep sleep. So when you get a melatonin, like I think regular doses, like one pill is like 3 grams or something.
2 grams, yeah.
And then I don't know, maybe it will help if
Maybe.
you can sleep, well.
But
I
try to
would
do some breathing exercise and go confront it.
Yeah.
All right. So good luck, Kratz. All right, Dan. A shadow person is the perception of shadows in living species, humanoid figures, sometimes interpreted as
Just
a presence
share
of spirit or some other entity by believers in the paranormal. And they tend to visit people when they think about that.
No, it's kind of like the thing that I was talking about
Yeah,
before.
definitely.
Like it's a lot of people reporting like kind of like this shadow. And then it's kind of like a human, looks like a human. And then in the Mothman's case, I guess it has wings. So I think some of them sees a hat. The person is wearing a hat. I remember I had this friend who was saying, seeing it like almost like a sleep paralysis, that like this creature, like in the room, like other side of the bed, basically.
Yeah.
but it was kind of like this big humanoid, like his head was going up until the ceiling. So it was like really big. And just looking at him, like not really doing anything. But um, so I feel like people are seeing that type of like shadow like shape.
I think there's like this in between, mythical idea and also tales from our
I mean, if you look at
grandparents and
all the
things like that
mythos,
mixed. Yeah, exactly. Mixed with, our current state of mind and appreciation of what we're living through. Maybe, that's where it's coming from.
I think the
So
Slender Man is like that too, no?
Slenderman, yeah, totally not real. Totally imagined. But it's still giving this idea that it's familiar even to a lot of people. Kratz, to answer you, are you coming
I
daily?
wish, Kratz.
I wish. It's weekly though. You
But
can
this
find us.
mofo.
Yeah, yeah. Next week for sure. But you can also find our podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, right? Yes or No podcast. We're starting the new season, so you can find the new episode tomorrow.
Well,
for
we are
you.
live generally either Wednesdays or Thursdays. Generally
Yeah.
Wednesdays around like
This time.
yeah, like I'm in Los Angeles, so it's like in my time it's like 12 p.m.
Yeah, UTC
Generally.
it's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
and for you it's around 1 a.m. I guess.
Yeah. A bit
But yeah,
later.
but check it out. Yeah, thank you, man. Congrats. But then, yeah, I think it's the same idea. I was mentioning this story too about my grandmother or something like that. That was on top of a bed or child bed, and it's and she was in the kitchen or something like that, and she saw someone that was leaning over the baby, and then I don't know. There's like this kind of generational curse in my family, some shit. Everybody's fucked up. But yeah, 100%. Dan, what we generally
Take care,
cover?
Kratz. I mean, before
Yeah.
you go to sleep, we wish you luck. Just
Confront
make your
that shit.
peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, confront it or acknowledge it. And hopefully you will get a great sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us next week.
Yeah, tell us next week, bro. Yeah.
Right? Take
I'm
care.
curious now.
What topics do we generally cover?
Well, our
Man.
first season was like we did different things, and it was the first season we were recording a topic and putting on YouTube and Spotify. We still have those. Like we talked about AI, we talked about hustle culture. Like it's mostly cultural things. It could be a little bit political and economics and stuff like that. It's like general opinion piece that we talk about. But this season, like the second one we are doing right now, we're trying a new thing that we have maybe small topics at the beginning, and then at the end we cover a more general, maybe like concept for like 20-30 minutes. But this was just a live conversation that we did this week.
Yeah.
And then I am personally really glad that we had some people listening, and that the opportunity to interact with
Yeah, for sure.
all of you
100%.
guys. It was great.
But just to give you a heads up, for example, for the few episodes that are gonna come, all right, they're gonna be about art for sure. They're gonna be about gym bros. Gonna be about
Gym Bros
Actually, this
episode,
topic too, because we're gonna do a special Halloween. I was just saying earlier,
Yeah.
Also about holidays in general, what it means, why, like this idea is basically to confront our own idea. And this is why we called it yes and no. It's because most of the time it's yes or no, but the way we communicate, Arda and me, was always with this idea of asking a question to me, and I'm like,
Well, yes and
yes and
but
no,
also no.
because like in some part, yeah, I have a clear stance, but on the other time, there's always something that can be contradictory. So I think this idea about our topics, it's about for sure what is cultural and social for sure, but it aims at to basically confront ideas in itself.
You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok. It's Yes and No Podcast. We're trying to build our social media page a little bit too. But yeah.
Give us a
So
follow.
I think we should wrap up a little bit. Need to get ready.
Yeah.
for the
Thanks
work.
for thanks for the follow, Dan. Also, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you again, guys.
Thanks, guys.
It was great. Thank you, Arda. It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I one of your hosts, Matt, and this is my good friend,
Arda.
Arda. All right. Thank
good
you,
to see you
guys.
guys.
See you next time. Bye.
See you.
See
Bye.
ya.